The devs revealed information regarding the PTB coming out on November 4th, so let's take a look at all of it. But before we continue, use the code GALAXIES in the store in order to get a cute banner featuring two besties. So the very first thing mentioned on this stream was that Legion is not going to be in the next 2 vs 8 iteration coming out on November 6th, which they didn't reveal in the stream, but thanks to leaks, we know that this event is going to feature both Pyramid Head as well as Dracula. According to the devs, they want to rework how their power works in-game, as Legion was one of the biggest frustrations players had on it, something that many players can agree was true. Next up we have the biggest section, which is the changes related to the anti-face camp, tunneling and slugging features, which they revealed a lot of information about, so you can test it in the PTB coming this November 4th. First of all, the devs explained that these tactics are one of the biggest reasons why players decide to uninstall the game, so they want to tackle and prevent slugging, tunneling and camping as much as they can. Obviously, as developers, they want to prevent new players and casuals from finding this game frustrating. However, I do hope they also do the same feature for a lot of killer players that are struggling because of the palette density quality of life change. So the first changes are camping, and the devs have told us what they consider as face camping. If the killer stays 8 meters close from the survivor, this is face camping. If the killer is between 8 to 24 meters, it is proxy camping, and anything beyond that is patrolling. The new anti-face camp mechanic will deal with the first two types of camping. So the very first change is allowing all players to see the resolve bar, so your teammates can know when you are about to escape from the hook by yourself, something that is going to be extremely useful for solo queue players. The next changes are related to the resolve bar, as now it will fill up 50% slower by default, and depending on how close the killer is, it will start filling up faster and faster. This is to prevent killers from having it filled when they are close to the hook but not camping, so now staying nearby will really punish you compared to before. Additionally, now the distance from the hook for the resolve bar to fill is now up to 20 meters. However, despite it being huge, remember that the bar will feel extremely slow while you are far away. Finally, if you hook another survivor, all nearby hooked survivors will have their resolve bar progress paused for 7 seconds. This is going to be useful, for example, when you hook survivors in the basement. Next up we have tunneling features, and the developers showed us that 40% of matches feature tunneling in some way, which is absolutely insane as official stats, and understandable why the devs want to remove this from happening. However, I think the stats themselves might be flawed, as for example, an aggressive survivor body blocking from hook technically counts like tunneling, when it was the fault of the survivor and not the killer, so I per se think the actual number of hard tunneling is lower than 40%. So, now after getting hooked as a survivor, you will get endurance, haste, see the killer's aura 32 meters away from you for 10 seconds, and also the elusive status effect is back. But now you will also be completely muted if you have any effects that force the survivor to puke or cough, like for Plague and Nemesis. However, in the endgame, you will get your effects the same as on live, and most importantly, survivors now have collision back again. As the devs said, survivors could use this aggressively in the PTB, and this is true. Now, for the killer side, killers now get smaller rewards, but they also do not get punished at all. So now, if you get a unique hook, you will get extra blood point multipliers like old barbecue and chili, and you also get bloodlust for 15 seconds instead of haste. And the reason they added this bloodlust is because this won't be used with powers to make killers like Spirit, Blight or Ghoul stronger. This bloodlust will deactivate when you find a survivor, use your power, or when you perform any actions nearby to prevent it from stacking with itself. As you noticed, there is no base kit pop and no base kit aura reveal. Finally, all of these will get changes, which will be revealed in the patch notes coming out soon, so stay tuned for the summary. The final aspect is slugging, which is done 30 seconds on average per match, and the devs want to make this experience not as miserable as it is currently for survivors. So now, the anti-slugging feature is back, but it is nerfed to 120 seconds on the ground, which is halfway of the bleeding timer, and additionally, for each survivor slugged, the rest will be able to get their anti-slug mechanic 33% faster. So for example, if you are slugged and another teammate is also slugged, it takes 90 seconds to happen, which is the same as default in the past PTB. However, survivors cannot recover while moving, and their speed will increase gradually the longer you are on the ground. The only perk getting changes is tenacity. All of these features will be tested in the November PTB, and also you will be able to deactivate all of them for custom matches in case you are running a tournament. Autohaven is getting a complete lightning and fog redesign, making it brighter and foggier than before, as a lot of players complained that this realm was too dark, and also how exposed everything was, allowing players to find survivors and see killers from afar. This will be featured in the PTB along with a special queue to allow you to exclusively play in this map, and it lets the developers know if you like this change or not. I am going to be honest, this looks like they reused the lightning from the Walking Dead map, so I am personally not a fan, but I do like how it has more fog. Along with this change, but not coming on November, the devs revealed the most liked maps in the game according to the community, and they also clarified that some maps are currently happening more, like the game or Larry's, so they will be making the map prevention feature stronger than before, along with increasing the weight of the liked maps, but this will happen sometime in the future as they are still tweaking the values of how much they want to increase the maps and how the system mechanic works. The settings menu has changed to look more professional and up to date, and finally you will be able to slide stuff without having to spam the buttons, so now everything is just better and easier. Now this is a quality of life change, unlike the palette density thing. Also, this is a small change, but now the cinematic video will only play when you open DBD for the first time, and after that you will immediately go into the game instead of having to skip it. So no more memes like
"It wasn't programmed to harm the crew,"
or
"How many pages have I written?"
And now for my favorite feature in this stream, scratch mark colors will be able to be customized. So now you can go on the beta tab to change the color of them in game even. So you can select whatever color you want out of the options to fit the map you're currently playing. Additionally, they did specify that there is a chance for more colors to be added, including purple, which is currently lacking and they have talked about it. Hopefully they also add a pink color too. This is a gigantic accessibility feature change that I am very sure a lot of players will be happy about, as it will finally allow players and especially casuals to see where survivors are running better. Huge W. Now let's talk about our favorite D tier lady, and that is the Skull Merchant, a character that got gutted and apparently a rework on the way, which is no longer the case, as the devs have told us directly that the rework was too much from a technical standpoint, so they decided to buff her instead, and if we are happy with these changes, they will scrap the rework entirely. So first of all, scan lines now move 10 degrees faster, and you can see on the video how much faster this is, which can be further buffed with one add-on. Next up, the hindered penalty is stronger, going from 8% to 10%, and now you can deploy drones faster, going from 7 seconds instead of 10, but your undetectable lasts less, going from 8 to 6, in order to prevent Skully from constantly being undetectable. Virtually, this should feel exactly the same as before for a lot of players. The biggest buffs for her, in my opinion, is how they remove the fast vault immunity, so now you can get scanned if you perform a fast vault, and most importantly, no drones will only go up if you are completely under them as the killer, so you no longer hurt yourself by coming close to your drones in the middle of a chase, which will allow for so many more scans unlike before. Talking about being under drones, a small nerf to her is now that survivors stand under the drones, the lock-on will not be immediate, as instead an animation will play to let survivors know that this is a harmful mechanic in the first place, something useful as many players do not want to learn how this killer works like. Like I said previously, if these changes are enough, the devs will keep her as is. However, if these changes are not good, the devs will move on the rework, but this will take a very long time to make as it costs them a lot of resources that are taken away from the other upcoming content. Someone who is actually getting a rework is Trickster, who is apparently getting one of the visually coolest powers in the game according to the devs, with a hint on the preview saying style, but no information was revealed after that. Hopefully what they mean is that we get a musical combo power or something really cool, as this would make Trickster be so much cooler than the current knife spammer he is. And finally, for some miscellaneous changes, with the first one being a new system to report bugs, which will apparently be possible to do via their official Discord, and hopefully it is something similar to how bugs are reported in Minecraft. And regarding the Frank Stone legendary skin for Trapper, the devs confirmed that they scrapped it. Instead, most likely, we are actually getting a Frank Stone chapter in the future, which was heavily hinted during the livestream. And for obvious reasons, this is not going to be the next chapter as they don't have enough time to make a power in less than 4 months. Let me know in the comments which of these features are you most excited about, and if there is something that you personally don't like. As for myself, I do like the support my members give me to continue making these types of videos. So thank you for watching and supporting, stay tuned for the future developer diary summary, and have a nice day.